Good evening, Honorable Minister, and good evening to everybody who's here tonight. Can I have my slides? So I've been invited to come and speak to you about the university and also about the Namibia Green Hydrogen Institute that we've started. Now, before the slides are starting, I want to tell you a little bit about my journey because it was very uncomforting this entire year since about April. So many years ago in the 90s, I worked for Sasol. And then what happened was that from there onwards, many years later, I went to do my PhD in the United States, and Schlumberger was actually gave me a fellowship along with Fulbright and Google to do my PhD. And then at one stage, as a student leader in the US, I was confronted with a challenge that I was asked to go to Washington, DC and go and advocate, picket with slogans and everything for clean energy, right? And then, that's not mine. And then when I came back to Namibia, and it was all hunky-dory. I'm a computer scientist. And then I went to UNAM last year, in the middle of the year, to take up the position of Pro Vice Chancellor for Research, Innovation and Development. And the first thing that I'm confronted with is that there's a strategic objective that falls under me, and that is that I'm responsible for directing research in the university on climate change, adaptation and mitigation. And I'm looking at this and my boss says to me, listen, you're a computer scientist, but you have to change your mindset now because it's a wider area that you need to look at. And I said to him, boss, you know what? I'm in human-computer interaction. That means that everything that the sun touches, including what's in the elephant's graveyard, is in our domain, right? Technologists, we design the future. So how hard can it be to sort of switch to anything? In April this year, he sent me a little bit of a text and he said to me, you are late for a meeting. I said, what meeting? He said to me, it's a meeting on green hydrogen and ammonia. And I'm like, I don't know anything about it. It's across town. It's going to take me half an hour to get there. He says to me, get here because you are going to be responsible for driving this. And so you can imagine that I'm a fish out of water, and I kind of like had to change my gills for a set of lungs to live on land again. Anyway, so here we are, and this is where our story starts. So globally, decarbonization initiatives are considered key driving forces towards the use of low carbon gases and fuels. And incorporating green hydrogen as an energy carrier can leverage the Earth's existing widespread energy infrastructure to facilitate the transition to a low carbon future. We looked at the Harambee Prosperity Plan 2, and this is the project then that my boss said to me that as a public university, we have to support the government's efforts in this. So now, few months later, all eyes are set on Namibia as a potential green hydrogen producer. But one of the things that we're adamant, as the university as well, is that we are saying that the university needs to be locally relevant, right? With local and global impact. But the green hydrogen story should not only be the story of, of the economy, the story of investors, etc. It needs to be our story, which means that it needs to be an inclusive story within Namibia. So making it our story means that we were looking at 3 areas, and those 3 areas are, if we want to get on, on the bandwagon of green hydrogen, we needed to look at what are typically, if you want to set up now your plants in Namibia, what are you looking at? You're looking at, where am I going to get my skills from, right? Secondly, where am I going to get my R&D from? And thirdly, What about the local businesses? So for us, that's where we come into play. So recall that I said that I, for instance, do not know about green hydrogen because I'm a computer scientist. But what I did do when I was presented with a challenge that you have to lead this, I went back to the university community of about 30,000 students, 2,500 staff members, and spread across 12 campuses throughout Namibia. I called them together and I said to them, anybody who does anything within, the sort of any area within green hydrogen, be it desalination, be it solar, wind, etc. I mean, we had wind turbines in Ludritz, we have a desalination pilot plant in Henties Bay, we have solar, we have PV that we want to do maintenance, etc. I said, anybody, let's get together. And within a short time, we had over 70 researchers coming together in all of these different areas. And we started to organize ourselves into sort of project areas. And we came up with about 14 areas that we are doing research in. And anything from nanotechnologies, etc. So everybody came together. And then we said, right, we're going to now establish an institute. And we are going to see how we can help it. And this is then how our idea of establishing an institute at the University of Namibia, but as a national institute, was born. So we looked at a center for green hydrogen production, and then we looked at a center for storage and new materials and delivery. Then we're looking at a center for hydrogen fuel cell technology for mobility applications. We're looking at a center for hydrogen energy use, economics, law, environment, and society. And then, of course, we're looking at a center for capacity building. And we're not only looking at the academic programs that we're having, the formal programs. We have, for instance, a master's in renewable energy that we've already revised in these past months to include components of green hydrogen in that. Next year, we are going to embark on an entire program to transform all of our master's and PhD programs to sort of be responsive to what we need in about 5 years' time for green hydrogen within the country. But we're also looking at training do short-term training skills for anything from operators, your blue-collar workers, your white-collar workers, your specialists, everybody that's there. And I'm going to go, once I go over the partnerships, you'll see that we've even built in some skills development for executive leadership within energy. So then we have also, remember I said I'm a computer scientist, so I couldn't leave out all of the enabling technologies that is going to power all of our manufacturing environments and beyond. So we're looking at AI, we're looking at blockchain, we're looking at IoTs, we're looking at all of those sort of technologies within that. Now, these ones, how is it going to function? We are partnering right now with private sector within Namibia, with government, and within international organizations, and with universities, both in Namibia. We already have NUST on board. Their researchers are part of our teams, and we are partnering also with universities outside of Namibia. Because what do we need? We need to have skills, and we need to have staff exchange and student exchange. And what we want to do also is that we want to build demo projects, and we want to go onto pilot projects, because we as a university feel that it's not enough for us to just produce PhD holders or to produce publications. We really want to show impact, by doing something meaningful. For instance, why don't we power a town with our renewable energies, etc. Now, I see that he's coming closer to me, but I really need to speak about our partnerships that we have established so far. Remember, we are trying to build capacity within the country, but certain specialist areas we don't have yet. and therefore we have to partner with others to sort of give us the skills that we need. We partnered with Altava and List Next Century, and with Altava and List, we are already working with them in conducting certain studies and conducting some research and development work. And as you know, Altava and List is a Namibian company who's partnered with German partners as well as with Belgian partners. We've partnered with Siemens Energy as well. Siemens Energy, we've been checking them out for a while, and we've been checking out the power academies that they have established in South Africa. And they do, for instance, skills development. They also do innovation. And then, of course, they do digitalization as well. And I'll speak about some of the areas just a little bit later. We also, one of the early partners who came on board as well is the Gauteng Growth and Development Agency, and in particular, their Innovation Hub. Their Innovation Hub has all of those three components that I was talking about: the research and development, the SME business incubation, and they also have the skills development. So we looked at that, at what they are doing, because we envisage it to be like industrial science and technology park that has distributed nodes across Namibia, like in Ludritz, in Oraniemund, Roshpina, Keetmanshoop, Henties Bay, and in Wolfish Bay. And then we also partnered with CSIR, that is the South African Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. And in fact, UNAM currently has a seat on their advisory, the CSIR Energy Advisory R&D Council. Then we also partnered with WITS Business School. Now, this is an interesting one, because when we looked at their center, which is the Africa Energy Leadership Center, when we looked at the programs that they are giving programs in executive leadership, and that's what I was talking about on energy. And this is what we need, because in Namibia, we need to start from leadership and go right through up until your operators, etc., who's going to work in all of the plants. We also partnered now with WITS Business School, with Siemens, and with Gauteng Growth and Development Agency. We had a facilitator and a connector in the form of RRS Investments, Ms. Ipeleng Silele. She had played a pivotal role in getting us sort of all of the connectors that we need. In addition, they are also providing SME incubation services, and this is where we saw a sweet spot for our partnerships. Another one we partnered with is Solarship in Canada. Solarship does, or at least we're setting up innovation hubs and innovation communities, and looking at unemployed youth, but within our communities, where we're bringing them into our innovation hubs. And we are going to be building drones, we're going to be building airships, we're going to be building bush aircraft. Just think of the distances in the south, and there are no planes that's servicing that, airlines. So this is what we have in mind for that. But that will also be your perfect demonstration project to show how you can use hydrogen for the airships and for the bush aircraft. And then we will have a sort of a peace building tournament that we will be participating in. So we have more partnerships, but I wanted to sort of just show you sort of how some of our partnerships are actually connecting with each other. So with Siemens Energy, we have 3 areas. Yeah. I was given 5 minutes just now. Green hydrogen, power transmission, and digitalization. What's important here is that we have, in all 3 of these areas, just look under capacity building. We have research and development, technical skills training, and exchange of staff and experts. And as I said, with this, we will be setting up some demo projects within the Namibia Green Hydrogen Institute. Voila, I am done. Thank you very much.